Hello, 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 and welcome to the Talking Dogs podcast on Monday as we reflect on the final of the BOYLE Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. You can tell I'm just a little bit subdued today. We're on day two of a hangover, but that's fine. We got over it. We had a great night at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. More importantly, we welcomed home a wonderful Derby champion in cheap sandwiches. The bridesmaid in 2024, of course, a dog who'd been in three Derby finals in the space of 10 months, and here he was on the biggest stage of all, in front of the most adoring crowd of all, and he came home clear to land the spoils and hand Graeme Holland and his Riverside outfit a fifth Irish Derby success. A pretty remarkable achievement. I'm joined, as always, by the exiled one, Tommy Lyons, and of course, Damien Lonergan, who, if he gives me grief today, will be exiled also. We may not have him back for about another year. Anyway, Damien, great to see you. You got to Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Well done. Your good lady probably dragged you up kicking and screaming because we haven't seen much of you.
No, look, I had to kind of put the date in the diary there for the last couple of months. That was my one night out. So look, I have another one now in February, maybe for the course of it, if I behave myself. No, but it was a fantastic night, and everything was seemed to go perfect.
Yeah, Tommy. How did it look? How did it look from the outside? Obviously, I'm going to say the right result. In a sense where we had a hot favourite. It was a race that, you know, I'm not saying largely went to plan because there were a couple of anomalies in it. But Cheap Sandwiches was a dog that deserved to win a derby. He did win a derby, and it's the one where it's the storyline that gives us, well, easiest to write about, I suppose.
Yeah, well, look, we could write about any of them, in the sense of like you laud whatever dog gets through 6 rounds and wins the derby, but like cheap sandwiches. I think the most important line I thought I heard from Graham Holland when he was interviewed by Barry Call the other night was that he's a remarkably sound dog. I mean, to do what he's done in such a short space of time, you said it, in 10 months, three derby finals, to win a Dundalk International, and to just be all round at the top of his game. And even maybe we underplayed it last year, but to push the Bocco's Diamond at the very top of his game to probably a length or length and a half or whatever it was in a derby final, even if things didn't go entirely right for Bocco's Diamond. Like, in fact, three times I'd say during that derby, he was the dog to get closest to Bocco's Diamond. So, like, from my perspective, and I talk about form a lot of the time, it's a brilliant result because I love to see form franked as you go along, and he has just been sensational. And we talked about it when Damien was on earlier in the competition. Like, there's just no love for Chief Sandwich at the start, absolutely none. And he just all of a sudden, I know Bacchus Diamond coming out was a huge upset to the whole derby. In many ways, it shook up so many things about the derby. But like, straight away, we went from, okay, Bacchus Diamond is gone. Let's just get on Cheap Sandwiches now, and it worked out beautifully. Yes, he was beaten that night, but he went on three of the best runs. Two certainly in the quarter final and the semi final were two of the best performances that dog has ever produced. So I think it's a right result. Although you could make a case why any of those finalists, would be a worthy derby champion.
Yeah, no question
Yeah.
about it.
I
Go ahead, Damien.
I think you have to give a special mention though to Paul Hennessy. A bitch. We've seen a video on social media. She's little pups running around 10 months old. The pups are
No,
actually bigger than
they're 13 or 14 months old, I think.
13 months old,
Yeah.
are they? And they're the tower over, and here she leads up in the Derby final. Like that's unbelievable. That's an unbelievable. Like Holland, Graham winning his fifth Derby, but geez, politics, a bitch have little pups, Derby final, and leads up and beating three links.
50 to
That
1
that
chance.
that's they have to give a very very special mention.
Yeah.
That was an unbelievable training performance.
Well, I think we'll get to them all. I think we'll get to talk about all six finalists at some point. Let's stick with cheap sandwiches for the moment. I just want to call out four lines of form for each derby. His last four runs in the 2024 derby, 29-34, 29-13, or sorry, last three runs in the 2024 derby, should I say, were 29-34, 29-13, 29-32. In the 2025 Derby, 29-27, some 7 lengths faster than, or 7 spots faster than last week, 29-14 on the corresponding night, a spot slower than last year, and then 29-37, just a few spots slower than his final display last year. 10 months apart, it's incredible how consistent these greyhounds can be. Um, but I suppose the beauty of it is that Graeme Holland, much like Paul Hennessy, actually, I said it this Kevin after racing a Saturday night, that the thing that sets them apart, anyone can have a dog to fly for 4, 5, 6 months, but it's the ability to bring them back a year later and for them to achieve that same mark. And Cheap Sandwiches, well, I felt he was probably a fraction better this year than he was last year. Like his times are there, you know what I mean? It just goes to show you how consistent these dogs are. But it points to how a remarkable training feat it was, Tommy.
Yeah, look, yeah, it was, but we've come to expect it. It was funny, all right, in that interview I talked about a minute ago with Barry Call. He said, I'm delighted for the dog and all this, and as you'd expect him to say, but he did say, now we got to try find the sixth. That's the way he'd be thinking. That's why and that's the way Paul Hensey be thinking. Well, I got to find one for next year to go one place better than Barefoot and Song and the rest of them and Pat Buckley and whoever else is involved in the final. It's like it's the joy of the derby and the joy of being involved at this stage. Just you want more. You want more, and you want to go again, and you want to try again. So, I mean, they're all. I can if you picked out any derby finals, derby semi-finals, I can tell you why each of them was a very good training performance just to get that far to the quarter final to the semi-final. Like there are dogs. You talked to me about dogs in earlier in the competition. You said, does this have a chance? I was going like, no, it's probably no more than a quarter final dog. But like to get them that far is an achievement in itself. Like you have to have sound and dogs that are in good form at home and good, enjoying what they're being asked to do on a daily, weekly basis. Cheap Sandwiches, like Graeme said, it's remarkably sound dog. But Barefoot and Song, I'd like to echo what Damien said. I mean, you know, I work on form. That's the way I like to think about races on form. But sometimes you say, is trainers able to just get a little bit more, get a little bit, just at the right time, just a little bit extra. What Barefoot and Song needed to finish second in a derby was to get out of traps, or else she's probably finishing last. That's the way I would have saw it. So she was the hardest one to make a case for. But it is Paul Hennessy. He's won derbies. He's won everything you can think of in the game. So you say maybe there's a chance. And actually, it was quite funny last week listening to Kevin. He was as he said with each passing hour, he was more convinced that she could win the derby. In
Mm.
fairness, he certainly thought it after about 25 yards the other night.
I think he wasn't the only one. It was
Yeah.
remarkable. She absolutely flashed from boxes. She was a 50 to 1
Mm.
chance, and here she is, 2 lengths clear into the opening corner. It was almost Susie Sapphire-esque. Now, Cheap Sandwiches arrived on her shoulder to be sort of maybe a half length, 3 parts of a length down on the corner, and between the bends, he's upsides and he goes on off the second bend, and the bubbles burst as far as Barefoot and Song is concerned. But I asked Kevin after racing, I said, dejected, deflated, or elated, and just proud, and he said, yeah, he said like, we're delighted, absolutely delighted. What can we expect? Like it's very hard to win, when you're the price you are against the dogs you're taking on. But to run as well as she did, it was remarkable. And I think it's as good a training performance as Paul Hennessy has ever had, to be honest, because she had no right really, to run as well and to do as well as she did. Now Kevin had said from very start of the derby that the better it gets, that this lady won't shirk it. Like she will just stick her head down and go and go and go. And in fairness, she did. Damien, we'll get back to Cheap Sandwiches just for a minute because obviously you don't want to be talking about Bocco's Diamond too much, but he was taking up a fair chunk of the betting market. The day he was withdrawn, you got the fear. You weren't in work, and you got the dreaded phone call. There's been hefty support for Cheap Sandwiches. If you had been sitting in the trading room, the market would have been taken down straight away. As it was, you got caught with the pants down a little bit, I think.
Around the ankles, absolutely around the ankles. But like I remember ringing you Ian, I think there's money for cheap time. Actually, yeah, look, it's probably a big price of 12s, the each way angle. I said, don't know, Ian, Bacchus Diamond won't be running. Next thing, leave it with me, leave it with me. Yeah. I think he's gonna be withdrawn. But look, that's anti-post betting. We see it week in, week out with horses. You go, where they go lumping this second jolly. Half an hour later, someone tweets out, oh, he missed a piece of work last week. He might be running in the Cambridge or whatever Group One race coming up next. So, but look, that's anti-post racing. It works your way sometimes. You know what I mean? It definitely, it was worked in favor for the punters this year. But oh look, I text Dan Brazel last night. Like he must be a joy to own. Like he can put him in any competition that you want, and he'd be thereabouts. Funny enough, was he beaten in a 2-run 550 there just before the international stage. He won first.
The reason he went into the derby, sort of a little bit unpopular. was he had run in a 2-run stake in Shelburne. He'd won the first night in 29.87, and like it was workmanlike to say the least. Now he beat Sunshine Sue a couple of lengths. Now Sunshine Sue has come out and like he's probably franked that form somewhat. Like he's been running outstandingly well. And then the following night, Flashing Lilac, she was a big prize for Pat Buckley. Of course, she subsequently dirtied her bib, I'm afraid, but she repelled him, and he just like flat is not the right way to spread. He just didn't look ready. You know what I mean? And despite
Yeah,
having
we
run
must
the
have.
international and whatnot, just looked a little bit off it. But it was clear from the get go in the Derby that he was getting there because his run in the first round of the Derby was better, and then it was better again, and then better again. And as we speak, like we spoke about it last week, his run in the semi-finals was as good a run he's ever produced. 29.14 in those conditions. It was just a tremendous performance. So it was just yet again more evidence that the dog was sort of allowed to find his own form through the competition.
Yeah. He so I'd say, and as a big thing with him too, like is I mean, if you get a dog like that, that's bulletproof injury wise, not picking up these, these some dogs just pick up these little niggles and holds them up. This fella, I'd say, it'll stand to him too when he goes to stud as well. You want to breed to a you want to breed to a dog who never had any flares or any upsets during his training career. Like seems to be what you see is what you get with him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Bacchus Diamond wasn't around, we'd be all hailing sheep sandwiches as the best thing since sliced bread. It's just he's around in the era of Bacchus Diamond. But come here, what he's done the last couple of weeks is phenomenal. Like Saturday night, what was he going to the line? What was he? Was he a length and a half? Was he maybe a length and a half behind?
I think the sectionals suggest he's a length behind. It was 340 as opposed to 347 for him.
And the running he had to do from the line to the bend to get up to her shoulder between the first and second bend, like that's frightening. That is frightening.
He don't let it be. It didn't escape us that you said the best thing since sliced bread. By the way, about cheap sandwiches. Tommy, I'll have to lose my train of thought there. I remember back when we were first probably getting involved in the sport, and when I remember the Ardford Mix of This World and Farlow Melody, and I never forget Matt O'Donnell talking to Dad one night about Farlow Melody and said, "This is a dog. When we first got him, we thought he was a good dog, decent dog." But just with more racing, more racing, more racing, he really thrived. It was the first time I ever heard about thriving for racing. I think that's very much the case with cheap sandwiches. I really do think he tends to thrive. He seems to get better the more racing he gets, shall we say?
He just seems hardy, like he's made of iron. I'd say he whenever he's needed to work, he'll work, and whenever he needs to race, he'll race. He's because even I think even the performance in the Dundalk International, it wasn't flashy, but it still showed a lot. And even the Derby final, the English Derby final, when he finished fourth, he showed remarkable pace and determination. It was just too much to come around at the track and whatever else and get around and win the heat after having things gone wrong early on. But like he gave absolutely everything. There's never a night where he just, down to and says, "Okay, I'm not going to win tonight. I got a bit of a bump." Like he is the most determined dog. I mean, like, he is unlucky to be around when we talked about Bacchus Diamond and the times that Bacchus Diamond did last year and whatever, the track record and equal track record. He still pushed him so
Tommy,
hard
you're
every
just
time.
you're just breaking up there for a minute.
So I was just saying that he's unlucky to be around the time, like you said, with Bacchus Diamond because of what Bacchus Diamond did last year. But he's a sensationally fast dog. He's just so determined. He has absolutely everything you want in a greyhound. And if you put him out every night, we talked about Bacchus Diamond. Will he miss it and get himself in trouble? If Cheap Sandwich misses it, which he has done regularly, and he did in the final, he still produces 29.37 off that start was a phenomenal effort. But you know what? A lot of that final was predictable enough. We thought, okay, Magical Mag might lead, but we feared what might happen with Proper Air, us showing the pace into the bend, which did happen, unfortunately. We weren't sure that Barefoot and Sound was going to be able to lead Magical Mag, but it was still going to be the exact same scenario regardless at the first bend. And whatever was going to lead was going to have Cheap Sandwiches coming around the outside, doing what he does best. Drubby's Deploy was a bit unlucky. we never expect him to be involved early, but he just got caught up in that bit of trouble at the back. And then Glengar Silent, who went from 338 last week, was it, or 340 last week, to just missing the kick, just inexperience, actually ran a fine race. But the funny thing about this race was it was comprehensive. He was an odds-on favourite, and in fairness, he returned 4-5, which is actually a very good price. He if you look at the distances in the race, 3 lengths and 4 lengths, 7 lengths back to third. If you were beaten 7 lengths in the 2024 final, you were last, stone last in the 2024 Derby final. This is a proper performance.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Speaking of the betting there, 4-5. Damien, are you surprised he went off as big as he did?
We put up a special Saturday, 8-15, and enhanced to evens. I thought that was a number. You know, that was you have to do. You kind of have to do Derby final. You have to do something. And next thing, 4-5. I'm thinking, Jesus, that's a backable price.
Yeah.
To me, you're backing. If that wasn't a Derby, if that was Derby quarter final, I think he's a 2-5 chance. It's because of maybe, I don't know, was it the English crowd were over and they backed proper ARS, or
I'm of the belief that those that were back in proper ARS were throwing the form book out the window, and they were just it was purely on belief. Because the closer I got to the race, the more I look back at the semi-final display, going, this dog is he's tired. You know, this is the first time he's ever run this deep into a competition. Like, he's never had a 6-run competition in his life. He got knocked out of the first round of the English Derby, so he's never had that opportunity. He just looked jaded, and the fact that he'd missed it from his previous 2 starts from top 1, and he missed it again. Like, he's a clear third. He's picked up by Glengar Silent, who comes from well behind him to beat him comprehensively for third spot. Just tells you what was sort of we felt before the race. The dog was tired, and he ran tired. I just couldn't understand how he went off as short as he did. I really didn't. You know, I've said it all week now. I was on Drippy's deploy for second and to be placed and whatnot, but his goose was cooked once the traffic happened on the opening corner. But even then, you know, it's Barefoot and Song Prep Areas is trying to pick up. He never looked like he was going to get an inch closer to her than he did, and to be picked up again, you know, for the second week running, I'm going, God, how did Proper Air not finish third there? Because you're not really paying attention to it. And he just looked the dog that was tired. And the 7-2 return price, just like that, I find that somewhat puzzling.
Well, in fairness, Ian, you did say last week you thought you wouldn't back the 10-1, and I agreed with you. We were both entirely. I mean, you have to believe what you see. Or what's the point in trying to judge anything on form? You have to believe what you see, and he ran way below his best last week. Whether there was an issue, whether it was just tiredness, whether I don't know what the reason was, but like, based on that run in the semi final, you couldn't even entertain him, and I couldn't believe. I looked at the price the other day, Saturday, and I saw him going from 4-1 to cut to 7-2, and I was like, who is backing the dog?
He was like straight away after the semi-finals, we went 11-2, proper, and that was whatever after the draw was done,
and that was being cautious.
Yeah, and next thing I went into work the following morning, and next thing was cut to 5s because the only dog they were wanting in the final straight away was him at 11-2. I 4-5. I still can't get me head around 4-5. Was he hit 4-5 across the board, or was this?
Well, see, that's industry price. We don't know. I don't even know what price he was on track. It's too busy. You don't.
I seen a picture. Is it Joe Stewart? Is he?
Joe Stewart, is it?
He goes to the horse racing around the country. He put up a picture of 4-5 on Hegarty's board. So it was there, like.
Well, he's not doctoring it, so like that's obviously the case. Yeah.
I'd love to know what these people are expecting in to happen in the final.
But they put it down like, no, the Derby Roar is something as well. Do you know what I mean? It is a factor, and sometimes these fast breakers could upset them more than the rest of them. You know, maybe that's where. But like they do. There's Derby finals there. You think dogs should be well shorter, and they just want to take them on. Do you know, but these bookmakers, they have no anti-post liabilities in the background, or maybe they could have had cheap sandwiches back and wanted to get something back out of them as well. Do you know what I mean? So,
look, it could also be a case that they're having a bad night and they're taking a chance at that stage or whatever, or the other way around, they're playing up winnings. They can do lots of reasons why it can happen, but I must be an awful fool when it comes to betting because I had him down as an odds-on chance before the semi-final. I mean, the makeup of the semi-final was perfect. The makeup of the final couldn't be too bad. That was as bad as it could be. Actually, the semi-final or the final, that was as bad as the makeup of the final could be for the dog, given the six greyhounds that qualified. Even though we knew there could only be two middle or two wide seeds in it. So I don't know. I had him an odds-on chance before the semi-final because I thought everything was in place. And even doing things wrong, he was able to win the Derby final with 3 lengths. I mean,
Yeah.
he'd
I
shown
saw,
us
I
that
saw,
he'd
I saw, I
been
saw
back to
written
his
in the
very
dice
best.
that the Chief Sandwich is going to be inconvenienced by trap five. Now, this is the same dog that won his semi final last year from trap three and ran in a remarkable race in the final from trap three. So he's not one of those dogs where he's trap dependent. I'd have no problem seeing this dog in one or two. I think he'd handle it fine. He's just the ultimate pro. I think he'd go relatively straight from wherever he is. Now, as it is, he does like to sweep the corner, and that's not
I
quite as
think I
easy
think
from the inside.
yes, great point. I think the one thing I would say about the final, his performance in the final is, had he been out in six, he would have run that the first two bends a little bit better. A little bit better. We're only talking about like 3, 4 spots better, but he did almost bump in with Barefoot on Song because he was coming from a slightly different angle. It's only slight, and I know you can try to factor these things in, but like as you said, he had the proven form and he had the early pace to cover Glengar Silent and Droopy Deploy for fun. So I mean, I couldn't see that five was going to beat him.
He wasn't. It was only inches last year in it going to the corner between himself and Bacchus. Like there wasn't. Do you know there wasn't?
I'd say Bacchus cleared him by 6 inches last year.
That's all. Like so, it's not as if it was a mile. Just going back, I got one of the lads to send me on a picture of the field book just as we're going to traps. Droopy's deploy was a big
You're
loser.
great. You're great fun on a night out.
Droopy's deploy was a big loser. Barefoot and Song was a big loser, and Proper RS was a loser.
Wow.
So Cheap Sandwiches was a result on the day because he was an 8 to 15 chance all morning.
Hmm.
But I couldn't believe when I was looking.
So what you're saying is, but for that move between the third round and the quarterfinals, you were having an absolute beano. Is that what you're
Oh,
saying?
we were cheering on Cheap Sandwiches from the stand, but then he probably wouldn't have been an 8 to 15 chance either if he was resulting in the anti-post book for sure.
Yeah.
But I was saying like Derby final, I'd say there's people, your general punter that's tuning in to watch Derby final,
They
he
don't want to
does
back
want
an
to
odds
back.
on chance.
No, they don't. They'll see a bitch at 40 to 1. They'll see
Yeah.
trap six at 33 to 1. An English dog is there at 5 to 1. And that's what they want. They don't get stuck into these odds on box.
Behind the front two, we've spoken about Barefoot and Song, how well she ran. Third spot went to Glengar Silent. He didn't get the kick. He was actually slightly outpaced into the corner. He was fifth early, and then Droopy's Deploy actually made a move up the outside. He was sitting in a lovely position in fifth. Like I know he was fifth, but he was going to keep a true line, and you could see him entering the back straight as close as, well, not quite third, but he certainly could have been fourth into the back straight, and he could well have made the frame, maybe got involved a little bit. But Magical Mag was just in that really awkward spot. She's just far enough behind Barefoot and Song that she can't really make any sort of movements left or right to get around her. Proper RS did what we feared was very possible. He drove up the inside and he doesn't shirk the issue in the corner. So one thing about this fella, he may be running tired, but if there's a half gap, he'll try and make it a full gap. That's what I love about him. There's a real bravery and drive about him on that opening corner, and he hit the bitch, who then sort of had to check across, and she lost her legs, and next minute she's on the deck. She badly hampers Droopy's Deploy. Thankfully, both were absolutely fine. I got good reports of Magical Mag afterwards, but all of a sudden the race is over. It's Cheap Sandwiches has taken Barefoot and Song on the outside. Just as they're entering the back straight, he goes on. He quickly opens up by 3. Then there's another similar gap, maybe slightly bigger, to Proper RS with Glengar Silent, another 2 or 3 lengths back. So it's race over, and it's just a case of where the remainder end up. But anything to say about what happened in behind, Tommy?
Well, Glengar Silent was a dog. Well, I found it hard to make a case for Barefoot on Song because I thought getting by Magic Mag early might be difficult. So it was hard to make that, but I couldn't. And I did chat to a couple of people last week about this. I couldn't. They were worried about Glengar Silent. They backed other dogs. And I was like, I just can't place that dog close enough to the bend. I just can't. I couldn't place it with the makeup of the race, with anything I'd seen. I couldn't place it close enough to say it's going to be a danger in the race. Ran well, it ran fine. It didn't run a brilliant race. It just never got going, I suppose. Maybe not that it didn't
He,
run a
he
brilliant
was he
race.
was a dog. He was a dog that was priced on his pace rather than priced up on the makeup of the race. Because if you were going in the makeup of the race, he's a minimum 8 to 1 chance.
Yeah. He
Sorry,
probably is
Damo.
actually was. I see he returned 11-2, but yeah, look, I just couldn't find how he could play. And look, he's inexperienced, and he had shown a good had produced a good section in semi-finals. Wasn't able to repeat it. That wasn't a big surprise either. Proper Eris, my thoughts on that. We both thought it was a 1,000,000 to 1 chance. Druby Deploy, we thought might get a run in behind. The only thing that kind of didn't work exactly as I thought in the final was it was either going to be Barefoot and Song or Magical Mag who was in front out of traps and maybe into the bend. And I thought it would be Magical Mag because she was drawn 2 and Barefoot and Song was drawn 3. The rest of it, as I said, even the trouble, unfortunately, that was predictable because of Proper Eris's pace into the bend. And as you said, the determination. I mean, even if a dog, maybe you're saying he's running tired, I don't know what it is, but if that's what it is, even yet the dog is trying his damnedest to run a big race. He's trying to give it everything he can within his capabilities on the night. So he's actually, he ran flat. He recorded 30 seconds of what the comments say a clear run. I'm not sure it's entirely clear, but he's recording 30 seconds. I mean, that's quite a step back on his third round run when he beat Cheap Sound just fair and square. So like he just wasn't. It goes to show you how hard it is, how difficult a job it is for trainers and for the greyhounds themselves to get through 6 rounds. You've got to be an iron greyhound to go and win a derby, and to be in 3 derby finals. That's
Especially
why.
especially when you're away from home. You know what I mean? That's an added element.
Yeah, yeah, it's a huge it's a huge task, and it's why obviously these are you'd hope would be the successful sires of the future because they've shown what they can achieve on a track. Cheap Sandwiches say I don't know that he'll ever be appreciated for quite how good he is or how good he's been over the course of 10 months. If he never races again, I would pose one question: would it be fair if the two of them met in the 550 and the Winter Festival? Bacchus
Ooh.
Diamond and Cheap Sandwiches. Would it be fair? Would it be fair on either? Would it be fair if Bacchus Diamond came out and flew and won by 4 lengths and we'd be saying, oh yeah, well the Cheap Sandwich is a bad derby winner? He wouldn't now. He wouldn't beat him 4 lengths. But I'm just saying, would you want them if you own the two of them or train the two of them? Would you want them up against each other?
No, I don't think I would. I think I'd be trying my damnedest now to keep them apart until
Would you, Dave? Would you, Damien?
until maybe next year's
There's
English
no,
derby.
there's no way. Why would you do that? Not a hope, I'd say. Not a hope. Just say, lads, if you ask you a question,
It'd be some crack the racing office tell them, by the way, Graham, you can't have 2 runners in that race.
what? It's like there's your opinions. Will he come back next year?
I would imagine he will.
I think so.
I haven't asked the question. I haven't spoken to them, but I would imagine he will.
Yeah, like is there syndicated 10? Are they? They're
A
not in it.
syndicate of 10, and they're all professional men. Like they're not like there's not one like when I'm chatting to some of them the other night, and they were telling me about, oh well, one's a cardiologist and one is and they call another fella the money man. Which tells you your own story, and then they actually described it. I wrote it this morning. One of them is described as the a wealthy effer in it as well. So, like, what are they going to get out of stud fees between 10 of them? I can't see. It would have to be a sporting decision, and everything we've seen from the dog in recent times tells you he's as good as ever, and there's no reason why he can't continue that. Like even you look at world sport now, athletes and performers, be it golfers, tennis players, footballers, they're going longer than he ever did. And I can't see why, with the enhanced training methods and certainly the mastery of Graeme Holland, why this dog can't perform at a very, very high level. Not even if he doesn't perform to this exact same level in a year's time. He won't be far off it if he stays fit and sound. And by all accounts, touch wood, that hasn't been a problem.
No, I'd say I told you I'd say he will be back because as like I said he's not injury prone. They're very sporting syndicate. I know Dan Brazil will say it's taken years off his life seeing this dog run. Do you know what I mean? He was like a young fellow outside in the podium the other night. Of the 6 finalists, Glengar Silence is probably going to be the shortest down the betting. Is he for next year's derby?
I wouldn't be entertaining backing him for the derby next year now, personally.
I think cheap
Tom.
damages be short pricing them.
Well, you're putting him up, say.
Like he's going to be double the price of Magical Major.
Yeah, he's going to be 25 to 1 chance anyway. But
Yeah.
Glengar Silence is not going to be too much behind him. You know, he'll be around on the same. He's only his 11th race last Saturday night.
Oh, listen,
He'd be
go on.
that price because the market isn't in any way framed, if you know what I mean. And you know, we'd have all the youngsters to come out over the rest of this year and the start of next year and all that sort of stuff. And we'd hope for a bit of regeneration again. You know, that's as you get any year, you'd hope to get any year. We did say early on, we did call it that it was likely to be a seasoned Graham that was going to win this year, or same as last year. We said it was going to be a new generation dog. It's just the way things move on. I would say, you know, have we seen enough from any of the younger dogs this year to say that they're a Derby winner in waiting? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We're getting to understand what Magical Major is. We're getting to understand what Ballymac Stud is, what Glengar Silent is, and they're not polished greyhounds yet, and maybe they never will be. They're not. None of them are polished. They all have sensational ability, but they're just not polished, and you don't get away with much in a Derby final. Like you talk about Cheap Sam just coming back next year. He'll be 4 years of age by the time the Derby comes around next year. Like what you need to factor in if you're the connections is, do you care whether he wins a Derby next year or not? Do you care? Is that important? Is it important that he goes well? I mean, if he loses a length, he's not winning the Derby because that missed kick that he can do now and then is going to get him in all sorts of trouble, and it'll be a bit like the night against Flashing Lilac, where that'll become the norm. In a year's time, probably, because you can't sustain that level of ability. He's brilliant. Like, appreciate him now, but they probably like. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back, but I don't know what your target would be or what your
He
what your
won't.
hope
He
would
won't
be.
have a hugely busy campaign if he does come back. Like we won't. Like
Yeah, but
we're not. We're like if we see Chief Sandwiches run 10 more times, that's probably a fair achievement. You know what I mean?
yeah, but then he's not back in the Derby next year. He's not running the Derby if he's only running 10 more times. I mean,
Be
he's
interesting. Be
not back
interesting
there.
to see what
I,
happens. You know?
it's kind of incidental, but like you kind of have to say, look, what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve with this greyhound now? And nothing is the answer. Probably we don't care. From now on, it should be victory laps and enjoy them. Pick and choose. Go to the Winter Festival and go to, maybe even if you want to come back for an Easter Cup for the sake of if the dog is. I would say the decision to whether he'll run or not next year. The connections I would say will say, yeah, do you know what? Let's think about a campaign next year, but let's see how the dog is in himself in February, March, and see how he is, and let him decide. And if he's not, if we feel he's not, well, what's the point? But I can't.
If he was mine, I think I would be Easter Cup route, and I'd probably sacrifice the English Derby to keep him hopefully fresh and well for the Irish Derby, because
You'll have a good.
at his age it'll be a big task to go to England and
But
then try and be ready for Ireland again. If you're going that route, if you're gonna, or do you just keep going until you feel that the time is right to retire him, and then you go to Easter Cup and you go to England, or you just go to England, and if he doesn't perform in England, you might have to make a decision then.
Damien is probably the man to ask with his experience in kennels. But I would say, Damien, you'll probably have a feel from the dog working, early next year, where you think he could be or will be, what level he'd be capable of reaching again by knowing the dog. They'll know that fairly quickly, won't they?
Oh, I'd say I see a picture. I think Graham was below on Cork trial this morning at 7:20. There was a picture of two vans on. So he'll know after his first sprint trial back. Look what he's done with
Yeah,
Clonbale Treaty. Do you know what I mean? He called that very quick, and
yeah,
we were talking there. Do you know if Chief Sandwiches was a horse, he'd be Giant's Causeway? Because I remember reading
yeah.
in an interview, Mick Kinane or Aidan O'Brien said, the more hardship or the more races you give, Giant, he used to kind of say to you, is that it? Is that all? Like I can go more, like Joey. So he is the perfect iron dog. Just talk about dog's age. Glengar Marta won on Saturday
Oh,
night,
brilliant,
and
brilliant, brilliant.
she's 4 year old, and she done her best ever run. Like,
Yeah, her
you
joint,
know,
a
so
joint, a joint career best, 28-01. She had it once on a card before, and
Yeah.
and she doesn't even lead. She only
yeah.
leads down at the third bend. Just goes to show that, again, training methods, and you just keep
Yeah,
them
but that's
interested,
that
keep them
that's
keen.
yeah, but that's a
So,
one-off race too. That's not
of
66
course, of
rounds of a
course,
Derby.
Yeah,
of
but
course,
still, it's
of
still the
course, of
engine is
course.
there. Like, do you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
engine,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
engine.
yeah, yeah.
We'll get to the remainder of the card now. Just want to touch on a few more things. Syndicate of 10, obviously, Dan Brazel is the man that was tasked with finding the dog. They were set up a few years ago. It all started at a wedding, Jer Brazel's wedding. Dan's son, who's a member of the syndicate. A lot of his college friends and one or two lads that sort of are in and around the group as well. And the name came from the fact that they used to play on I think it was a five-a-side team or enter charity competitions, and they used to call themselves Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. So obviously Mark Wahlberg was the Marky Mark in question. So Bark Wahlberg was decided for the syndicate name. Free Sandwiches was one of their early dogs. They had another dog where I couldn't find him yesterday. Knocked the crease guy. They said, I think he said he was a good level, and they had another dog called Doggy Barco. Obviously, a take on Donnie Darko, but all clever names. And I asked where the cheap sandwiches come from. Obviously, Free Sandwiches was there, and they kept it cloudy enough and said, "We can't really tell you, but let's just say it all started in Las Vegas." So you know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But they were all there. They had a great time. Funny enough, David, who's in the Sin or Keith, yeah, David, no Keith. Anyway, one of them, well, he's married to Fiona, who is Dan's daughter, and they live like, I mean now, literally. If I went out to my back garden and did a sandwich, I could, excuse the pun, but I could land it in their back garden. They back onto me,
Probably
basically
miss.
two houses down. So they're just around the corner from us. But it was great to see them all there. They had an absolute ball. They've been enjoying this ride for the last 10 months. And I must give a mention as well to a man who looked very satisfied with himself after racing on Saturday night, all the way up from Ballyduff, Joe O'Connor, the breeder of Cheap Sandwiches. He's done a fine job, obviously enough, producing a Derby champion. It was a no-brainer that she was probably going to be valuable enough as a brood. She ran six times. She did a 28-30 odd around Tralee. She won four of her six starts, and her line goes back to the likes of Ballandary Moth and Skipping Chick and all that. So, like, it's a very, very strong breeding line. But obviously, Dan had to go and choose Cheap Sandwiches, and it's clear he made the right decision, Damien. But these are the stories you don't really hear about. The breeder was there, happy as a lamb, no, and okay, proper doggy man would have known who Joe O'Connor was, but he wasn't going around shouting it from the rafters. But I had a drink with him after racing, and he was a very, very happy and content man. I'd say the journey back to Ballyduff didn't take all that long.
No, I'd say like there's so many different angles. So you have the owner's angle. Obviously, Graeme Holland wins the Derby five times. But like I'd say for Joe Connor, like say he starts off, he wants to win a few races around Tralee, or and next thing all of a sudden, no, he's in the limelight. He's a Derby winning breeder. There's so many good breeders down through the years have tried and tried and tried and have never got there, and he doesn't have the same say firepower brew which ways like say like the Dowlings or the Dunphys or the John Kennedys, you know what I mean? So like yeah, that's going to be that's Saturday night's going to be a night that he's never ever going to forget.
Yeah, I think Dan has a couple from another litter coming up, and like I think that was her first litter. Like she ran in 2022, so Cheap Sandwiches from her first litter. All of a sudden, Joe has a hot phone. Like that phone's going to be ringing. Like he's not the type of dog where you go, oh, it's a fluke. Like just the way he runs, and the fact that she's was so well bred and she had so much ability on the track. Like we could be seeing plenty more of her as a brood in the coming years. And best of luck to Joe. Tommy, we'll finish off with Graeme Holland again. Five. It started with rural Hawaii. Then we had the likes of Lenson Bocco and Ewan Taylor. Of course, last year's Bocco's Diamond, and now completing the five timer is Cheap Sandwiches. Just remarkable achievement. Much like Aidan O'Brien, though, he always refers to the lads, the team at home, and like, this isn't just a single effort. Like in the last week alone, like they were over in Toaster, they trialed Bombay Pat in Sittingbourne or Central Park, whatever you want to refer to it as. Like they had runners up and down the country. It's a remarkable, remarkable operation. And there's no weaknesses in the cog. Like even the other night, it was Gary Walsh that walked the dog. He paraded the dog. He actually gave the interview on the track. Gary comes from a sporting background. He was a good footballer, and like he spoke so well. So like there's no weaknesses in the team basically, and they can't afford to have weaknesses in the team.
You can't if if you're getting sent well-bred greyhounds and there's an expectation of results. But did you say, Damien, that was he trialing in Cork this morning at 7 o'clock or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. So like
There you go.
it's back to it's just back to bit. Saturday's gone, it's done and
Yeah.
dusted. they were still had to go home and leave out a kennel of dogs Saturday night when they got home, up again at 7 o'clock Sunday morning. Like nothing, because you won the Derby, nothing changes. Like so it's like I've done it before. Up and down that road to Shelburne Park. And when you come home, after a bad night, that road is so long. But like obviously when you win your better nights, then you fly down the road, you get to junction 14 and you're in Supermax and no that everything. But they're like it's 7 days a week, like
if you want to go and win a derby next year, well, you better start working now because Graham Holland's already thinking about number 6.
Yeah,
yeah.
you took the words out of my mouth, Tommy. Like that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Like you have like it's like he's won 5 derbies. I think his first Derby finalist was it Rural Hawaii, was it or
No, did he? He had a dog against Slippery Robert anyway. Was it Cabra Buck? Was he against Slippery Robert?
oh
But
he
he
was
may
like
have had some before then. It's not something I looked up, to be honest. I had enough
like
people the last week, Damien. We just stop asking me such awkward questions.
well like he's done it all in such a short space of time. Like it's
Yeah.
not as if he's here for the last 40 years training dogs. Like he's not. So
Oh no,
that's probably
you're literally talking. You're talking sort of late 2010s or early 2010s. When he sort of first really appeared on the scene, and like over the last 10, 12 years, obviously his domination has been there for all to see. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. And again, I certainly wouldn't rule out 6 coming next year. I threw out the number 10. I think that's where he could end up. Like if the drive is still there and the right dogs land on his doorstep, which seems to be the case. I know one man is in the kennel is talking about having this fastest ever dog. The same man has won 2 derbies. So, talk about it that way.
Yeah, but look, we have plenty of top trainers here. They're not going to make it easy for Graham Holland to reach 10, but like there's plenty of people who are just as dedicated. Graham is getting results now, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Ian. He's he's built a team around him, and that is the most important thing because there's nobody going to do it on their own. You need a team you can rely on. I mean, they'll have dogs in numerous tracks, like a lot of trainers have dogs in numerous tracks that can do it. Over the course of a Saturday night or a Sunday night or Friday night, whatever. You're spread thin throughout the country, and you have to have people you can rely on to keep producing because every little bit of effort goes into every greyhound, whether it's just traveling, whether it's been minding that greyhound while it's traveling and while it's racing and bringing it back so that it's fresh and ready to go again in the kennel during the week. I mean, there's an amount of work involved. You need to have top people in all positions, and they seem to have done that. They seem to have built that over the years, and I say, Graeme is clearly calling the tune and doing it pretty damn well.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's look back. We'll have the final word in the derby in a few minutes' time, but let's get to the rest of the card. The consolation final was a cracker. Went to Callaway 5. He really dug in to repel the challenge of and find it now. Challenge of Magical Sapphire. Yeah, it was good to see him sort of coming back to himself in a sense where he did things right. He flashed out, and there was a bit of traffic on his inside. Shani Boomer didn't get his start that he so often does. Callaway 5 dug in. He's a nice type going forward for him. McKenna Dennis Murphy. He's still a length or two off where he needs to be, but he's still relatively young, June 23. I thought that was a fine display. Anything to add on that, lads, before we go to the Derby plate?
Well, I lost my
16
money in
USD.
running.
Say again?
Sorry, Tommy, one.
No, Damien Walker. I was only saying I would have lost my money on Magical Sapphire because I would have thought it was a certainty going down the back, but
Yeah.
Just another SP. A 16-1 was. I know. I definitely. I know. I'm not saying that I backed up a 16-1, but I didn't. I thought he'd be half that price.
Yeah.
Obviously, Shanahy Boomer was a 7-4 chance. He goes off evens. Salah Curley was 4 or 5-1. And he goes off 130. So the punters. There must be a fair lot of money in the ring for these dogs to go off. The shorter ones to go off. That sort of a price.
Yeah, that market contracted at the top because Magical Sapphire was 9-2. Like she was 6-1 around during the day, and Happy Jazz was 5-1 returned. Like he was 6-8-1 in places during the day. So it was a race where there was obviously plenty of money for the top end of the market, and as a result, the likes of Callaway 5, even Bradley Hooley Bruno was out to 8-1 by the off. I thought he ran okay in defeat. He sort of found nowhere to go around the bottom two bends and sort of was left. Sugar, I've left my chance there because while he had his momentum, he didn't get the chance to get through a gap. Let's get to the Derby plate, Magical Major. This was one that you could tell the winners that had been well backed. And there was a point sort of early in the back straight where the crowd just erupted. And at the time, I think Magical Major was probably disputing fourth. And as he cut through the pack into that third bend, the cheer just got louder and louder and louder. It was a very telling moment on the night. I think people are excited about him. I'm not sure anyone's excited about him as I am. I'm hoping that it happens. I'm hoping that it happens early for him. I think he's getting there all the time. Didn't get the start again the other evening. I genuinely thought this was a. I thought he was a 2 to 5 chance in the race. I'm not sure I'd backed him a 2 to 5 off the second bend, but I'll tell you something. The pace he showed, like they were not slow greyhounds he was passing down the far side. Like Sunshine Sue, Carrick Scholesy, Groucho's Hoffa, like he murdered them from pace from 2 to 3. I guess they're fronted, and then Sunshine Sue runs on as you'd expect, but he still wins comfortably in 2 lengths. I think he's the world at his feet. Again, I'd love to see him being able to go to a corner like his brother, but he can still go to a corner in time. I've no doubt about that. I think there's so much better to come from him. I think he's learning all the time. In his early starts, this was the type of race where he found traffic on the inside, but he's now learning to, oh, hang on a second. Sometimes it's better to stay in the middle or look for a different gap, and he's doing things right to a point. I just wish he'd do things a bit more right to the opening corner. That was my long-winded way of saying I don't know where he's going to end up, Tommy. He's going to need to learn pretty quickly.
We spent less time talking about the Derby than we did talking about Magical Major there than you did about Magical Major. You love this this greyhound. I swear to
Oh, I
God,
love this
if this
Greyhound. Yeah,
if this lad doesn't win three or four derbies in the next two English, the next two Irish derbies or
no,
something,
no pressure, Pat.
you'll be
No,
fierce
no pressure,
disappointed.
no pressure,
You
Pat.
were
No
after
pressure, no pressure.
you were after building him up something savage. Look at what I'd say is, look, we all know there's a remarkable ability in there. It's just not polished yet, and that's what we want to see. It polished, more polished. And my concern from the other night, and there was one because that's the way I work, was that I felt he did break quite well and didn't have the pace to get into the bend. He was behind them, not far behind them. I thought that's as I loved the way he tracked the first bend. I thought he sidestepped a bit of trouble at the first bend. I thought he showed a magical turn of pace into the third bend. It's just through them, and they were packed together. They were really tight, like sardines going down to the third bend. And he just showed a pace that the rest of them didn't have. I would say Sunshine Sue stuck to the task really, really well. I like that because if Magical Major goes by you going to third bend, you think Magical Major will win by 5 or 6. It was only 2 lengths. I was quite impressed by the runner up as well, but. Magical Major has all that X factor we talked about earlier in the competition that has an X factor that you love to see in the greyhound. But I just still going. I'm gonna until proven wrong, and I don't think it will be down the line. Just going to be concerned about that lack of early pace.
Yep, it's all fair. It's all fair. Damien.
Yeah, okay, he's my idea of next year's Derby favourites. It was interesting. He was beaten. Was he beaten first round of Derby, and then Pat ran him in a sprint in Limerick? Did he?
Yeah, he got knocked out the first round of Derby.
And
I think it was the following week he ran the sprint in Limerick.
and sprint in Limerick.
Even that night in the sprint, he should have won 8. And he was just, it was almost like, oh, hang on, I got to the first bend, and it's probably unknown territory to him as well in terms of Limerick. He probably had tried around Limerick, but I don't know it on his card. But it was like there's just a slight
He's
hesitation.
qualified in
This is the
1835.
point. Yeah, this is the point where I keep finding traffic. So at the first bend, so he just took it easy a little bit and then got going again. But since then, there seems to be a bit more. I'll just throw myself around this corner.
Oh, he again, like he will. Packet fighter will smarten this fella. Not smarten him up, but he will. I think he will get his trapping in not in order, but he will start trapping a bit better. I said he's lightly raced. He's lightly raced too. He's a dog. I think. And frankly, before he ran the race, I was thinking, where are these dogs backing? Where are they backing a 50, 66 to 1 chance to win a Derby when he's not even raced yet? And you know why they were backing him at them prices before he ever won a race, because they knew the engine that was there. I'd say will be 600. I'd say he'll get 600, no problem.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do it though.
Oh, you're disappointed. You're
Yeah.
disappointed in there mentioning his
I
Derby
don't
dog.
think you need to
Another
do that
dog.
now. I'd be focused on getting this fella sharper rather than trying to stretch him out a bit. I think he's okay
No,
over
I'm not saying
450,000.
like he go over 600. We'll see him 600 made a stars night. No, not at all. But I'm saying he's a dog that will get it. Like, so he's himself and his brother. They're so like one. pings, flies to the corner. Not you're suspect of him staying. This fella, you're suspect of him going to the corner, and he flies home. Like, I'd say if you could
Yeah.
mix both of them together, you'd have the finished you'd have the finished article. Like,
See, that's the insight we need from Damo, Tommy. If you could match the early speed of one dog and the speed of another,
but
it's
like, it's a
age
way
old
breeding.
question. Why can't we do it?
The way the breeding is like, one,
Yeah,
two little brothers and two totally different styles of running.
yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I
And
met
you're
your
right.
sister Sarah 19, and she's a lady, like, and
I'm not a lady. I'm
look,
a man.
you're
Yeah,
a beep,
completely. Like
right?
same
You're a
breeding, and
beep.
yet we're different sexes. It's unbelievable.
You're a beep. You're a beep. You can fill the beep with whatever you want. You can use your
Yeah,
imagination.
yeah. I won't start about you now, right? I won't start about. Let's move to the rest of the card. There are a few we need to touch upon. And the opening race on the card was it was another coming out party. This is Druppy's Faithful. Got talking to a man before racing I respect, and he goes, I fancied Westway Rosovich. I backed her at 4-1. And I went, yeah, I think that was okay. And at the time she was 6-4. And I just said, there is no way, shape, or form she should be 6-4. I'd much prefer her in the middle anyway. I think she tends to go up. She starts better. She goes up better from the middle. Anyway, as it was, Druppy's Faithful went out to a more than respectable price. She returned sevens. I think he could have got bigger. And as I said to a man before the race, this is a situation where we could be afterwards scratching our heads going, how did we not back the bottom? The longer run to the corner can only play to her strengths. And that's exactly what happened, Tommy. She is potentially very, very special. If she does sharpen up in those first three strides next year, she could easily be an Oaks winner.
She could be, yeah. Like as soon as I saw this, I was running to the website to see what the track record was, and it was actually 30:59. I thought it must be
But I
30:60. I don't
know.
know.
I had 30:57 in my head and I didn't say it in the commentary, but I knew it was very close.
Yeah, I didn't. I knew it had to be close 30:60. It's and you know what the beauty of this was. She nearly had to run to that to beat like Ballymac to bet around some race in second. You'd Ladies Desire in third. Look at the race it was. I think to win that 5.75, it's the type of race that should be on Derby Final Night and should open up Derby Final Night because like it was a top race. 30:60 is huge, and again, I say she was pushed. It wasn't a cakewalk. It was just a brilliant race. You know what? I met Daniel O'Reilly there in Shelburne Park a few weeks ago. The night Druppy's Faithful made her debut, I think it was, and he said, "Yeah, look, it's a bit of a rush now. The juvenile derby. She got to final, but he said, we think a lot of her. There it is, 30:60, first time over 5.75. There's a track record coming, isn't there? Like,
Oh, she's very good. She's very good. And like it's a length and a half, but it's three lengths until the last 25 strides. It's she's holding him comfortably, which tells its own story because Ballymac to bet, as we said, is so fast, so strong. I thought there was an overreaction to his run the previous week. I think he had put in a disappointing run from the third Ben home the previous week. But I think we saw the real Ballymac to bet the other night. And if he had won in 30:70, shall we say, as he has on his card, we'd be gone. That was brilliant from Ballymac to bet. Likewise with Lenny's Desire. If the other two hadn't been there and he wins in 30:77 in the first race, you're going, wow, what a performance. Like one of the performances of the night. And yet he's comfortably beaten 2.5 lengths. He actually runs on really well to get as close as he did. But Druppy's Faithful, Damo, young Daniel, he can handle a dog.
I'll tell you one thing, he's spending that Corby money. You know, he's not minding it or not. He's not investing it in property. He's invested it in bloodstock. And fair play to him, like fair. Like I think he gave the dog to Guilfoyle last year, didn't he? Because he was doing his leaving cert. Um, he's back in the game now, and he's found a proper one here in Druppy's Faithful. I'll be honest. I would probably would have backed two or three more in the race before I backed her. I know you was speaking to you after I sent you over the prices. You thought she was one that was bid on the bigger side, but whatever it was, Westbury Rossa, what there he is, Tommy. He loves himself. He loves that. There's no one loves himself as much as Ian Forster loves himself. But there must have been.
he loves Magic Major almost as much.
the what was it? There must have been WhatsApp groups going off on Friday when they seen the price of Westbury Rossa because I couldn't leave the price either. Like I couldn't even.
And don't get me wrong, we're like I know we're both big fans of her, but like this was a race with like unbelievable depth and strength and quality. And for her to go off that short a price just didn't it didn't seem right.
No. And like
Yeah.
you have a track record holder in Toaster in the middle, like in the middle of the race, you know. So look, it worked out good it was a good start at night for bookmakers. There was a few shrewd bits and pieces on Droopy's
Oh,
Faithful.
yeah.
But yeah, a phenomenal run. Who actually has the track record? Is it
Sentimental lad.
Sentimental Lad?
Yeah, sentimental lad. We'll move on. A couple of very well backed winners. We'll touch upon the extremes, the sprint and the 750. The sprint, Stone Park Brown. Damien, this fellow did come in for support. He was um, somewhat market corrected during the week. What price did you sort of settle on before the race itself?
Evens, around evens, five to
Yeah.
four.
He's
Um,
returned 11 to 10, and this was just this was just the real Stone Park Brown flashed out. Was going to get the corner anyway. I know there was traffic in behind at that point when they were challenging, but he was going to get the corner. He wins in 18:51, and it was pretty comfortable. A popular enough winner for the punters.
yeah, look, it was over as soon as the lids open and you see his muzzle coming out. That was it. Like
Yeah, that was.
he is an out and out sprinter too. You
Yeah.
know, I think
Oh,
he
that's
is a
it.
sprinter. And
There's no stepping this fellow up to 550 yards next year. Like we saw that
no,
he's always looked a sprinter. He doesn't quite get the four bends, but he has a future as a sprinter. There's no question.
yeah, look when it was race over. Like he went from being an evens chance to being 33s on as soon as the box is open. And on a big night, you like to have Michael Giordano in your corner.
Yeah.
He likes to be on the podium there and Derby Fight Night off. It wasn't the final, the big one this year, but he just likes to get in there some stage.
Yep, Damien as the fan as the main member in the fan club as well. Let's move on. The 750 yard contest, Tommy. This was facile to say the least. Born to form, flashed out, made every inch, confirmed very strong market support. This was one I regret not just sending a text to John Mitchell earlier in the week and just saying how is she? You know, she had won in 41:06 at Limerick back in April, and after a layoff, be it for injury or season, I'm not fully sure. I think it could have been a combination of both. She was beaten a long way in her only other start over 750 yards at Shelburne Park when she came back. Now, two recent runs around Cork would tell you she was right as rain. The market support for this lady was also fairly telling. She would go off a very short price. What was she? She go off.
Evens.
She went off evens, and tell you something. Evens looks a hell of a price now.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, like it was as you said, it was fascinating. It was just a brilliant display. It was everything early pace to take control early and just to stroll away from them. Just on the sprint, I wouldn't mind having the two. Wouldn't have mind having some of the rest of the litter there from the runner up and the third, the two Ballymac's.
Yeah,
It's just a shame that there were six inside seas in the sprint because obviously Ballymac's Atlanta wanted inside at the first bend. But Born performance was just excellent. I mean, it was just a case, and there were a couple of lads who did highlight it out to me saying that thought it might be one of the best of the night. I didn't play anything on the night actually, as it happens, but it's just Jennifer O'Donnell the Derby didn't work out as maybe they have they run a small team to a high level all the time. Derby just didn't work out as might have been hoped. Whether they would have had something good enough to win it, I don't know. But probably maybe you would have thought they might have got deep into the competition. Just didn't work out. But just another sign of how good they are at training and
yeah.
team.
It also, of course, they are building a bit of a team for next year. That Scooby Duchess litter look very, very talented. Indeed, we mentioned Magical Luca earlier on. Do you know what won that Romford Puppy Cup? A son of or
Scooby.
daughter of Scooby Duchess. She's breeding very, very well. Obviously, they have the other Ari, who looks a serious, serious prospect going forward. He's only sprinted to date, but I've been reliably informed he will stay further, and he may well turn up in a certain Bartleahy, which could end up being hotter than the Laurels itself. Okay, we'll talk about that another time. The 12th race in the card, Kusain Pickles, Damien as the chairman of the Michael O'Donovan fan club. Were you feeling a bit aggrieved about this? Obviously, 10 to 11 favourite, final race of the night in Derby final night. Did it cost your employers a few euro?
Yeah, well, she was 4 to 6 all day, and
Okay.
I think there was some odds against on the boards. So obviously bookmakers were did they have a few quid and they wanted to try to get rid of it, or were they trying to get
Well,
her
they never
beat?
trust me. Bookmakers never try and get rid of it. Okay.
Oh well, this I think this race was over as a contest going down the back, turning down the back
Yeah,
straight.
as
Just
early as the
you
second
feel,
bend, she was casting a large shadow, shall we say?
yeah. She was just in a position you're kind of going, yeah, she's going to kick off from here. No, she only won half a length in the end. Looking Nip ran an absolute blinder of a race, no, but
Mm.
he pushed her to limits, but you just felt after second bend in running she would have went 115, 120, you could say, if there was in running betting. But look, she's a remarkable lady. I think she has. Well, she missed a long spell. She must have came in season,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
what? Did she get hurt? But look, she's one that'll be like Winter Racing Festival 600. She'll be there at the top of the betting again.
The 600-yard competition will up now in Shelburne Park, the Yvonne Barry, of course. That runs after the Derby. So you'd imagine she'll target that if they feel she's well and right. It's not starting until we're talking yeah, a fortnight from now, the 11th of October. Tommy, you can see why she's a real punter favourite, can't you?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of latched onto her a bit a couple of times, even in Derby. He's thinking that she might have chances and whatever else. Um, she did win a Derby, I think, did she?
She did.
She
She
did, yeah,
probably
she did.
does. I think
She
more
did.
so. I think she probably does need the 575, 600-yard trip now.
Uh,
You know her best.
yeah. I think what we were hoping were maybe the Derby was that maybe in looking even though there were two bitches in the final that she might be involved in that kind of market to be the top bitch in the
Mm.
competition because the way she can stay so well, hadn't been breaking as well. But that's why Damien said she was down the back and said the race was over because normally she's quite hit and miss in that sense, or maybe in recent times certainly when she had some 340 sections for 550, which would be very smart, but. They
They,
haven't been
they
able to
they
do.
were the exception though, rather than the norm
Yeah,
of.
exactly. And you were kind of thinking each night, maybe if she could break like that, she's shown she can do it before. Can she do it tonight? If she does, she's a player and whatever else. So, look, she's a terrific bitch. And as I said, Michael Dunn had a couple of winners on the night, not unexpected.
Yeah, looking
I
left
have
on the
I have
start
to
out the
say,
second.
lads,
Go
the
on.
the 600 yard race I think is my favorite distance in the country
Oh yeah,
because
lovely.
like
You don't. You have two men here that agree with you. Like that's
because
that.
you run three full straights, like, which is
Yeah, that's well and truly documented, Damien. Criminally underused. We
yeah.
want to see more and more of them. A couple of nights would do me fine. Second was looking Lep. He ran his heart out. He's a real competitive animal. There's a real. He does not want to get beaten. He just doesn't shirk a battle, and for him to finish just a half length behind Kusain Pickles was a hell of a run. Carl Ramsbottom did have his winner though. Check for cash. Damien. Um, we know this was a popular winner. The one thing I like about Carl is when he has his winners, he celebrates them, and he certainly celebrated on Saturday night at Shelburne Park. But it shows how much it means to a kennel like Carl's that they get a winner on Derby final night, and he does, and he often does pop up one on Derby final night. So it means a lot to him, and certainly the way he celebrated on Saturday night, you'd sworn he'd won the Derby.
You think you just know about Carl. See when the three-piece suit comes out, he means business. Do you know when you see him on parade with the three-piece suit, you just know these dogs are absolutely firing. And look,
Best dressed man in Greyhound racing.
I tell you, Conor Byrne, the control short. I know it was because of TV cameras, but he really, really stepped up. Now he went from sort of an A3 up to double AO now Saturday night. But maybe the television cameras, and someone said he wants to try to get on Traitors Ireland next year. So that could be a bit of a that's why he got so dressed up. But no, check for cash. We said it during the whole derby, like you could set your watch by him. Do you know what I mean? He breaks and he lead, and if the race is to be won around 29:50, he'll do it. Do you know what I mean? He will do it, and he'll do it, and that's exactly what he done Saturday night. He's so look, he's the dog has a bit of age about him as well, and I'm sure Carl will be loading him into the box, into the van, and maybe taking a trip to Cork for Laurels because maybe with his early speed, took to Tralee very well. Did he do the clock? He held the clock, I think.
He held the clock for 15 minutes in Tralee.
I think the shortest ever track record holder in history. But
I think
he's a dog,
that's happened before. That's happened
as
before.
a
No questions happened before.
it's no he's a dog that could, he'll give connections a good run down Lords if they decide to go down there as well. But he's no he's you could set your watch by him.
Myself and Tommy will tell you we have history with the Cashback Syndicate. I think it was another one of their dogs I ruled out one time, and he qualified in the Ledger, and they called me out. It was a real "Are you watching Joe Brolly" sort of thing, you know. Check for Cash again, just a remarkable greyhound. You can set your watch by him. Well done to all involved. He's the same age as the Derby winner, so we're not ruling him out by any stretch of imagination going forward. We've mentioned Glengar Martha 2801, but Damien, you said it, I said it, we've all said it. Like it wasn't, it's not insight at this stage when we said about Glengar Martha. She's been elsewhere. She's come back to a different track. She switches on 2801, Bill Wood, Pat Buckley. The sport they've had with this lady is remarkable.
Oh, she went down. Did she do a sub 28 second run the first round of Lyons last year, Tommy? Does she, or did she do a
I think
massive
she
run?
did. I think she might have done 27.98, did she?
Yeah, I think she had like she went up to Dundalk, done a 40 spots quicker than the Dundalk International winner. Goes up to Galway first time around, bang, wins. I just thought like after being on Galway, coming back to Shelburne, she'll take off, and she no, I didn't
She had a 28-12 in Cork. Funny
28
She
enough,
had 20. She
it's
has
it,
27.81 in
in
Shelburne.
Shelburne.
Shelburne,
And that's
yeah.
what I was just going to say. 2801 came up the other night, and I said, "Oh, personal best," because I had 2801 on the card, but it's 2781. They rated it 20 fast that night, which,
It was
you
19,
rarely do at
27.99 in
Shelburne
Cork.
Park. But yeah, like it's hard to believe that this was the lady that was sent off at, where is it? It's a long, long ago. Sent off, here's one for you. August 4th, 2023. She was sent off 28-1 in the heat of a derby. And she beat Drugby's Nice One, the Laddie Da, Balnabola Ed, and others. Like that seems like a lifetime ago.
She's just and she's been so well handled too by Pat Buckley and Emma. She's like she's all the big nights she appears. She might if she doesn't make the big one, she's going to be on the undercard and she'll give you like that was a good race Saturday night. You
Yeah.
had the Galway Oaks winner. You had Hackney Tango after breaking the clock in Dundalk last week. Infield Riddle got to an Oaks final. So it
Third
wasn't an
in the
easy
Oaks. You had Magical Mag, who obviously was nearly seen, or not Magic Mag, Magical on
magic
Fire
fire.
was seen as the main danger. And then, of course, our old pal Broca Justine, who I just turned to someone before racing now, she's no chance. I said, well, she'll be in front into the back straight. Like, nothing's leading this lady. She's absolutely flying. She does a career best 28-22 in defeat, runs a hell of a race in second for Maureen Finnegan. And was it Kieran? Who's the other chance? Normally Arthur Ryan. I don't think Arthur has a share in this one. Yeah,
Ian
Kieran
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald is the owner. Yeah, just a big, big run from her.
Yeah, she like, but the winner of the Glengar Martha is brilliant. But it's 27.99 2 years ago in Cork. She's beaten half length in that race. I think it was Jack Tavern Bolt.
Bolt.
Bolt, yeah. Jack Tavern Bolt. I mean, she's like to hold that sort of form to this stage of her career. She's just brilliant. We did say she wasn't a bitch that was going to win like 6 round competitions, that type of thing. But my God, she's. I mean,
Yeah.
she's run 70 something times and she's won 26 times.
She was even money favourite in semi-finals of Oaks this year. You know what I mean? And it didn't happen.
Yeah.
She finished fourth on that occasion, but like this, that looked like it was going to be a great opportunity to win a big one. Obviously, she's 3.5 years of age at the time, nearly more. But again, God, the owner Bill,
Sorry.
he can have nothing but just utter joy in his heart for this lady. Like she's a brilliant performer, and I
Wouldn't
think
you?
I saw her quoted this morning that she's going to have her swan song at the Winter Racing Festival. I'll tell you something, she'd be a popular winner that night.
Wouldn't you love if she passed a bit that on to progeny, like to
Yeah,
pups? I mean,
no
she's
question.
just
We're going to finish off proceedings. We have two 5-2-5 yard contests. It's funny on these nights you stick with the variety rather than the old cut and dried because the trusted 5-2-5 yard races, and both of them were won in equally impressive fashion in nearly identical times. Sword Style 28-25 and Solo and Go 28-28, and both were absolutely ultra professional. Sword Style, a dog who won his opening round heat of the Derby in similar enough fashion, flashed out on that occasion, made every inch. Well, the other night he was the sharpest of some very sharp greyhounds. He does 28-25. But another winner for Graeme Holland, but importantly for Barbara and Leonard Lowndes, continuous supporters at Shelburne Park. It's important for people like that to have a winner on big nights as well as the small people. Like they've owned some great dogs over the years. Obviously, Swords Rex certainly comes to mind, but this Sword Style, he's a nice dog, Damo. He's only a September 23. They're going to have some sport with him next year.
Yeah, he was. I think of all the Derby, he was the biggest gamble of the whole Derby. The first round, he was drawn trap one in a good race, and he won as he liked. No, he was a dog. It's a hard race to price, I tell you, because Unanimous Leo was running so well in the Derby without winning. You're thinking step back 5 to 5, he'll be up right up the street. He just didn't get his flying start, but look, sword style, done everything right. I'm sure Netherlands took a bit of the 4-1 that was on show.
Oh, I've absolutely no doubt.
Lamrock Ace ran a blinder in behind.
Charles dogs are flying. He ran a big race in second.
Didn't get a big run. Get up me by probably ring Rustinus. No, he had 2 nice trails back, but it was his first race.
I thought it was a very encouraging run. Very encouraging run. Yeah.
He's the dog that's on the comeback trail, and look, they looked after him. They could have very, very well put him in the Derby, and just for the dog his age, they said no, he's maybe a dog for next year. So look, he's a dog that we'll be keeping an eye on over the next couple of months.
Yeah. And then Solo and Go, Tommy. Solo and Go for the Kingdom's Palace Syndicate course for Polly and David Clifford are involved in that. And a good winner. Druby's Patriot was sent off at a very short price. One of the favourites I was more than willing to take on. Solo and Go flashed out, did everything right. And just again showed, I think this was a better display from him.
I think this is his most mature run by
I think I would have been worried a little bit going down to the Laurels with him. I think this is going to have him spot on for Laurels. I think he's a real Laurels Greyhound now.
Yeah, he possibly is. And of course, he's got to do that breaking every night. He's got to do that sort of thing every single night to compete in the Laurels. You'll find yourself on the road home if you don't. To me, this is his most mature performance. Like, he didn't absolutely fly, or he did break well, but he had to battle into the corner to beat the tree into the first bend, and I think that's Phoenix Memphis, who I'd say was nicely fancied on the night too, despite the fact that he was a big price. He showed way more maturity, in my opinion. That's a step up. That's a step up for Solo and Go. That's beginning to realise. Again, I'm not ready to back him to win a Laurels or win anything yet, because I'd like to see it a couple of times in a row. But it's definitely a step forward.
You go 50s for Laurels, you might get stuck in.
No.
You go 50s for Laurels, you might have a tenner. Davo, he was impressive.
Oh, he was impressive. Like, he went off a massive price in the 4-dog race only a couple of runs ago in the Consolation puppy dog, but he really had to come to the 4. I think 550 is. I know he won did he win 2 rounds of the Derby or 1 round of the Derby? But 525 looks to be his really his trip, and if he can just get a bit more consistency. I know he's 203 done, 204 done, Shelburne. If he can hold that up and do his 28-20s, he'll win a lot of races, and he'll give the boys a lot of sport.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that's it. 12 races.
No, the Bono lad. Did we mention him?
The Bono lad. God, I have to mention the Bono lad. All the Wexford boys, and they accepted the trophy from. He wasn't best pleased. I said, isn't it great to see a Kilkenny man handing over a trophy to the 2 Wexford boys? The Shark Hanlon was making the presentation, and the 2 boys, Brendan Sinnott and Anton Butler, looking happy as lambs. I wanted to leave this fella nearly to the last. It's great. He's been running so well around Shelburne Park, and every night someone would say to you, I think the Bono lad will run well tonight. He will, but he just isn't getting a little bit of luck. He got the draw the other night, and that was the key to him. He had the fence, and while Bet Goodwin Ben was always up there, you just knew the Bono lad would keep going, keep digging in. And Damien, he was a good winner, plucky.
He was a good winner, and he done us a huge favour too in a race where it was hard to pinpoint an outright favourite. Bet Goodwin Ben, I think, went off favourite. You could have had
sort of 3 to 1 the field race, and he was the sort of one that came out of the pack.
Yeah, but he did definitely battle that. He was back to big prices. Jordan Heats in Derby, as you said, ran well without winning. So he won. I think he's a Derby qualifier from Waterford. I think he won his Derby. He qualified from there, and look, he had his day in the sun. They got a healthy $2,000 out of it, and 29.65. He put the time on the wall as well, so he done it everywhere.
Yeah, Tommy. Again,
he's been inside the middle of the seed, and yet he ran an inside line well the other night. He's seemed to chop and change the seed depending on the track and depending on the The weather, maybe.
No, good winner, and one that would have meant plenty to his connections. Obviously enough, he's been a good performer for them. This was his 39th start, his 13th win. So like a 1 in 3 strike rate. If he keeps that up, like they're going to be very happy men.
Like you love throwing the Greyhounds like that who are giving it all every night. I mean, 13 wins in 10 seconds in those runs. I mean, that's and at the top level.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that all 12?
Think
All
so.
12.
All 12. We've touched upon the Derby card. Exceptional racing through the Derby. Tommy, the abiding memory, though, will be Cheap Sandwiches getting around that first corner and taking over into the back straight.
The buying memory will be that pace that he showed so much in the quarterfinals, followed up in the semi-final, and then needed it more than ever. That pace up and around the opening bends to go and put it like he put that 3 length advantage over Beverly and Sound by the third bend. He did it from 2 to 3, and that's what he maintained the rest of the way. It finished 3 lengths as well. I had the same as you. You when you were talking earlier, I was listening to saying exactly what you said. You said he was 3 tier down the back. That's the way I had written it as well. I thought he'd made every bit of it was that burst of pace. He has such determination. He is so hard. He's classy. He has everything you want in a greyhound, and he's a great Derby winner. I worried at times during the Derby that the Derby wasn't going to turn out to be this. It was going to be a bit of a disappointment. Bucket
It
Diamond
was
was a
it
big
was it
loss
was
to us.
it was attritional at stages, but you know what?
Druppy's,
It came alive. It really did come alive.
yeah, they were disappointed. Yeah, it was attritional is a fair way to put it. Druppy's Patriot after the run in the first round looked like we could have exciting, progressive dog, and then he went out with Whimper next night. Obviously, wasn't 100% right, and whatever else, and Bucket Diamond coming out. There was a lot of things along the way that kind of tried to interrupt the Derby and make it into something that not a good Derby. But we had a great final, and we had a really good winner, really a top winner, top winner.
Damien, you were there obviously final night. You had a great night. I know I knew by your eyes after racing that you had a good night. But all in all, a good derby from a sponsor's point of view. Obviously, lots of exposure. Good winner, a winner that we'll be talking about for years to come because not just his brilliance, but he's a popular winner. A dog, given the fact that he was never named to win a derby, like Cheap Sandwiches. When you think about it, when you actually stand back and think about it, like how in God's name is a dog called Cheap Sandwiches going to win the derby? And yet he's now Cheap Sandwiches. Everyone knows him as Cheap Sandwiches. Everyone loves him as Cheap Sandwiches. And yeah, how was the card? How was the book for you? Did it work out successfully?
Look, from start to finish, Derby, it was, if we take the same Derby every year, smooth, everything went smooth. I
That
have to
means they
thank
made money, Tommy.
like I have to thank like yourselves, um, Ian, and the lads on the Racing Post. Everyone, anytime you sent him anything, everything was put up. The Sporting Press, Anne Marie and Eugene couldn't have been any more helpful. Have to give up the lads, Connor Matthews and Dylan Brennan. They were on top of everything. As soon as an honor came in, bang, WhatsApp came in. So like,
They didn't get the notification of Bucko's Diamond early
I
enough,
think
though, for you.
I text them for that. But no, they were brilliant throughout. Like, and I said, look, I have to give fair dues to the lads, Ty and Kieran and all, and the marketing team in BOYLE's. The Shelburne was, look, it was sea and blue. Everything was BOYLE Sports Saturday night. I was upstairs eating. Everything was perfect. And I'll get slagged now for that because I don't usually I'd be downstairs. But no, it was a great derby. We take it again. Look, he was a brilliant winner. Like, I think he'll go down as an iron dog. Like, as I'd say, like, jeez, like he gives us all every night. As Graham's got valid point, like he doesn't get injured. He's just the perfect greyhound owner, and I'd say the lads. I think the dream could go on a bit further.
Yeah, well, let's hope. Let's hope. Shelburne Park did look resplendent, since the job has been done. Obviously, we've said an awful lot about it, but the new addition to the top floor, the Wall of Champions, the whole top floor is completely transformed. The corridor looks so much better. It's so welcoming. It's so it fits the bill for a modern sort of corporate entity, in the sense where it's impressive looking. You know what I mean? And yet it's not cold and it's not calculated, because it brings back so many memories of every single Derby winners up on the wall there, and there's articles as well as just pictures. So you could spend a couple of hours on the corridor alone on the top floor, Shelburne Park. If you ever are back in Shelburne, you find yourself with half an hour or something to do. Just get yourself up to the top floor and take it in. It's wonderful. But from my own point of view, it's a very tough few weeks, but it's so enjoyable. Everyone put in so much work. The gang in Shelburne Park, they really did unbelievable work. Tommy sitting there at home, fucking just shaking away and just watching on the
It's tough.
screen. We're putting the hard yards in, David.
Tough
We're
few
putting the
weeks for
hard
you. Would
yards.
you stop? Would you? Tough few weeks for you. The hangovers are the only tough bit for you.
Well, they're tough today, I'll tell you. I'm playing football this evening. I'm not sure how good it's going to be.
You could, Tom, you could ring him on a Tuesday. All you get is, what? I'm up to my here at the moment. I go, right, Dave, I ring you back.
And it must be
Damien
the
and I
kids or
always
something
want to
that keep
talk
them
off
busy. It
you.
must be the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. They're off school today. They've been very quiet, so I want to thank my kids. Folks, I'm getting emotional here. I'm still a bit tired and emotional, as we say. But that's it. The Boyle Sports Derby is over for 2025. It's only been 10 months since the 2024 version, but I'm afraid we're going to have to wait a full year for the 2026 renewal. It has, again, as it always does, reinvigorated our love for the sport. Not that it needed much reinvigorating. It was a great few weeks. The last 2 or 3 weeks have been particularly special. For those involved in cheap sandwiches, congratulations. You've climbed the mountain. You are now Derby champions. Graeme Holland for the 5th time. The owners, Dan Brazel, and all the crew for a first time. And of course, Joe O'Connor, the breeder, because that's where it all starts. We need people breeding greyhounds. But that's it from us, Talking Dogs, on a Monday. We've just spoken about the BOYLE Sports Irish Greyhound Derby. I suspect there might be a bit more Derby talk over the coming weeks and months. But that's it from us tonight. My thanks again to Damien Lonergan, who, despite all the slagging he gives me, did a fair job. And to the exiled one, I'll see you in Cork. I've booked my place already. I'll be staying in Lyons, so we look forward to that. But that's it from us on Talking Dogs on Monday, and that's it from us for the BOYLE Sports Irish Greyhound Derby for 2025. We'll see you next time.
This podcast was brought to you by Greyhound Racing Ireland.